Well, good morning, everyone. Michele Molitor here with Nectar Consulting. I'm so excited to be here with you. It is our final Wonder Women Unite call of 2018. Oh my goodness, how is that even possible? The year just kind of zoomed on by. But I'm thrilled to be here with you all, and we have a wonderful guest that I'll be introducing here in just a few minutes. But just for those of you who are new to listening in, Wonder Women Unite is a group that I started about 2.5 years ago. And the whole purpose for the group is to have, rich, bold discussions with other brilliant women from all around the planet about what serves us, what lifts us up, what empowers us, helping us to find our voice and step into our power more completely. So I know that when we support each other and we cheer each other on, we all can do better, go higher, and soar as we're meant to soar. So know that we have these calls every third Friday of the month at 9:30 a.m. Pacific Time, 12:30 Eastern, and 5:30 British Standard Time. And all you other beautiful women from around the planet, please do your own math on the time zones. Thank you. Right? So to kick us off for our last call for the year, we're going to be talking about how to say no with grace this holiday season. Because I don't know about you, but who here gets pulled in 14 different directions when it comes to the holidays and making their family happy and traveling and trying to get everybody on the same page, and it doesn't work very well sometimes. And oftentimes we at the center of the storm tend to get left behind. So with us today, I have my esteemed guest, Judy Hoberman. She is an amazing woman. She is the president of Walking on the Glass Floor and Selling in a Skirt International. She's a speaker, she's a trainer and a coach, author, and mentor, and she brings 30 years of her experience in business to the women and men that she serves all around the world. She has a great sense of humor. I've had the pleasure of being on her radio show and know that she is an amazing woman and supports women, helping them be the amazing women that they are. She speaks internationally and really helps folks understand how to step more fully into their leadership and expand their wealth through their soft skills of leadership. So today we're just going to be having a wonderful conversation with Judy to understand, more about how we get in our way as amazing women and how we can do a better job of not getting in our own way, to say yes to those things that are really important and no to those things that aren't quite as important. So welcome, Miss Judy. Thank you so much for being here with me.
I am very excited to be here. We had a great conversation 2 weeks ago, and this is just a continuation. So I'm super excited.
Exactly. And thank you, Kat, for being here as well, one of our listeners. And we may have some other amazing women popping in from around the world. We always have wonderful folks who register, and sometimes they show up and sometimes they don't. So it's all good. Mm-hmm. So Judy, you're a super busy woman. You've got a lot going on. You've got family, you've got kids, and almost soon to have a grandbaby on hand, which is super exciting. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
What are some of the things that you have commonly seen in all the folks that you've worked with that pull us in those multiple directions and keep us from staying centered?
I think that one of the things, Michele, is that, especially for women, we don't like to say no. We want to help everyone. If you ask anybody, who's your market? They'll say everyone. That's not true. And every time somebody says that to me, I say, okay, I can't see everyone, but if you need me to support you, you need to tell me who your market is. So rather than doing that, a lot of people say, I would just want to help everyone, which is wonderful, but you can't. You can't. Right. And especially when you help everyone, you're not helping yourself whatsoever. And I have always been guilty of that because I had to be liked. I always want people to like me. I had that syndrome that you have to like me. Do you like me?
Am I okay?
Yeah.
If I do this, will you like me even more?
Right. And so it's just silly. It just is very silly. And what we try to do is, if you please everybody else, you're putting yourself all the way at the back. And sometimes we don't even get to ourselves. People always say, well, why aren't you taking this class? Or why aren't you going for this promotion? Oh, am I supposed to be at the top of the list or the bottom of the list? And you don't have to be at the top all the time, but you have to put yourself somewhere where you're actually capable of doing the amazing things that you have and can do. So I just know that we just never say no.
Absolutely. It's the, one of the popular things I've seen is FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yep.
Right. And if I say no, then I might miss out on something, right? I might miss an opportunity to be seen or to be heard or to feel appreciated. So I'm just going to keep saying yes, even though I'm exhausted or I don't have time, I don't have the bandwidth, let alone the mental capacity, right, to say no. And that drives a lot of people, men and women, right, that gets in their way. It's, back to that fear of not being liked as well, that fear of rejection. If we go back to 50,000 years ago, right? There's that part of your brain called the amygdala, right? It's your ancient reptilian brain. It's your limbic brain. It's back here. And your amygdala is your fight or flight response. And I like to call her Amy, right? Amy's job is simply just to keep you alive and on the planet. And 50,000 years ago, if you were rejected by the tribe, you would die, right? So Amy still got that hardwired. Well, if I'm rejected, I'll die. We can't have that. So if I just keep saying yes, then I won't be rejected and I'll be okay. But the good news is you won't die from rejection, right? We have to remember that. So in the folks that you have worked with and what you talk about in both of your books, Selling in a Skirt and Walking on the Glass Floor, what are some of the pieces of wisdom that you've been able to share with your audience about how to more effectively say no without giving away the farm?
Well, I think one of the things we also have to understand is that we say no even when we really don't want to. And it's not only because you want to say, that you want to be liked and everything. You just think that I should be doing this and I should be doing that. And then when push comes to shove, it's in your head going, I really don't want to be doing that. And so we do it for many reasons. But I always tell people that, you have to learn that saying no, like you just said, you're not going to die from it. I always say saying, no is a complete sentence. No explanation needed. You just have to learn how to say no. And sometimes it's not the word no, it's just, I'm not available. So, and this is the weirdest thing that just happened, and it happened today, right before the show. I was asked to be to chair a committee. And when I discovered what was going to be part of this committee, I was going to be one of 3 chairs. Well, as well as I do, if there's some history between 2 or there's nonsense between 1 or whatever. So I sat through the meeting yesterday, and when I got home, my stomach started to bother me. And I am very clear with my body, my stomach or my back. It's one or the other. And I couldn't figure out last night why. I just felt weird. And I discovered that I didn't really want to be part of that because it wasn't right for me. I can support them, but I don't need to do it as a part of the chair. And so I just sent my email off and thanked them. And I was honored and pleased and everything else, but I need to say no. I need to back out. And once I hit submit, all of a sudden I was like, whew, there's my stomach is good. My back is good. So we do it for many reasons. And I didn't care. I didn't want to be liked or be included. I just thought I could help. And so, so I'm very clear. So I always tell people, listen to your body first, because your gut, if you go against your gut, as well as I do that when you go against the gut, there's no turning back.
Yes. Ladies, write that down. Always listen to your intuition, because your intuition knows, your body knows. If your stomach gets into a knot, your back gets into a knot, suddenly you have a headache and you're like, oh, I'm procrastinating. That's your body going, are you sure that's what you want to do? But the tricky part here, and I get this a lot in my work, Judy, is that how do you discern between your intuition and your fear, right? Because the fear can also want to keep you inside of that and can keep you in those knots as well. And so as you learn to listen to your body and discern the different feeling between, oh, this is my intuition guiding me, and this is my fear holding me back.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think that for me personally, I sit myself down and I just try to decide what just happened. What did I do? And why do I feel like this? When I first started my business, and this was back in 2009, at the height of the wonderful economy that we were in. And I didn't realize how bad it was because I don't care. I mean, I was just doing my thing. Somebody had asked me if I would like to be a trainer for their company. Now, I do a lot of training. I do a lot of speaking, a lot of training, a lot of coaching. And so I thought, well, this is great. And they were going to put me on a retainer. Now, as an entrepreneur, when somebody offers you a retainer, you're thinking, okay, this is nice. I'll have X amount of money coming in. And everybody's like, yeah, do that. And so, I agreed. And then after I agreed, he said to me, now, one thing you cannot do is you can't talk about selling in a skirt. You can't give out your business cards. You can't, but you'll be promoting us. And that'll be for 1 year. And so again, I still agreed to it. And I got into my car. And as I was driving home, it was a 40-minute drive. I remember feeling like I couldn't sit up straight. And I was trying to drive. And I started to get like nauseous in my back and my stomach and going back and forth. And it didn't even dawn on me what had just happened. By the time I got home, I was doubled over, clearly doubled over. And I walked into my house or crawled into my house and I said, what is going on here? And then I thought, oh my God, I have to put my company on hold for a year. I can't do anything with it. This is good money, but what I'm doing is I'm pushing myself back again. Why am I not doing this? And so I picked up the phone and I called him and he said, oh my God, we told everybody, they're so excited that you're going to be with us and blah, blah, blah. And I said, and I really thank you for that, but I can't do it. And so I said to him, but I do have somebody else and let me refer this other person to you. And once I did that, I was standing up straight. So that's what I knew, that I know what my body is doing. And so again, you can't please everybody. You can't put yourself last all the time. And you just have to figure out how you're going to say no. And I know for me physically, I have to say no. And if I don't, I'm in deep, deep trouble. But, I do it in other ways also. I will, and I think I mentioned this when we were on the show together. I generally am a shiny object person. I mean, I am.
Well,
yeah, right.
I know that feeling very well.
And everything looks good to me. Yeah, everything looks good to me. So why don't I just say yes? And why don't I just say yes? And I remember thinking to myself, I'm just doing way too much and I'm not bringing in the revenue for doing all of this stuff. Now, I clearly don't do things for the money. I do it because of the value. The money is the byproduct. That's always been what I do. And people look at me, they go, you're full of it. I'm like, no, seriously, that's what I do.
And I'm going to pause you right there because that's a huge, huge distinction that took me years to get. Like, oh, instead of chasing after the dollar, oh, let me do this because I want to do it. I want to be of service. It fills up my cup, right?
Right.
And in doing that, then the money comes and it flows, right? But it's a hard thing to do, especially when you're coming from a scarcity conversation, right? And I understand that completely. And I know a lot of ladies listening into this understand that because it's hard to break free of that scarcity mindset.
Yep.
But when you can focus on the work that, gosh, I really love doing this. I want to be of service. Universe, how can I be of greater service today? And let the outcome of that be, money coming into my bank account.
Right. And there's that book that, it came out a million years ago. It's called Do What You Love, the Money Will Follow. And it is true. I mean, you have to work. It's not like you're going to say, oh, I love to do this. Where's the money? You have to work at it, right?
No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, so why am I not bringing in revenue? Now, let me just make sure that you understand I was not married. My children were grown. I'm living in an area where I knew zero people. So here I am all by myself and I'm figuring all this out all by myself. Anyway, so I've hired business coaches. I didn't have money for business coaches, but I did it anyway because I knew somebody has to be able to take all the jumbling that's in my brain and sort it out for me.
Yes, so exactly.
Right?
We just extract that out.
Can you just keep pulling it
file for you?
And I'm not a strategist. Okay, I'm an implementer. There's a big difference.
Yes.
I don't take the whiteboard out and say, this is what it could look like. I look at it and
that's
go,
me.
okay, show me where to be. Where do I show up? And I'm there. So I hired this coach, and he was a strategist, and he was a major strategist, and he talked way above my head sometimes, and I'd have to say, okay, come down, because I don't really understand all of that. So he said to me, okay, I need for you to sit down. I need for you to, come up with every single thing you're doing, because I have to see what's revenue generating and what's not. So we had the giant size Post-it notes all over the walls, and we're everything. And I was really cool with that, because he didn't use the word strategy at all. Once you use the word, the S word for me, I am like, I've shut down.
Deer in the headlights.
What are we talking about? Right. So anyway, we did all these things with the Post-it notes. And then he says to me, okay, now everything your hands are touching, every single thing, I want you to put it on this list. And so I did. And I thought, okay, I'm doing this and this and this. And I'd get up and I'd sit down and get up and sit down. And finally, when I was all done, there were 27 things on my list. And he looked at me and he said, how could you possibly think you could do all of these things and bring revenue in and follow through and be, create value and. And I thought, well, it's because I can. And he said, yes.
I am Wonder Woman.
I had the pose and everything. I had the bracelets, And so he said to me, okay, so let's go through the list. So we went through the list, and there were a lot of things I was doing that clearly were not revenue generating. So he made me, and I use air quotes because he made me do this. He made me pick up the phone and call each person of the item on my list that I was no longer going to be able to do. He said, you're not doing an email. You're not sending a text. You're going to pick up the phone. Now, there again is something that we don't love to do, especially when we're not giving great news. And so one by one, I did it. Most people understood, but there were a few that just came at me. They lunged at me and they said, you don't know what it's like to be, a startup. I'm like, what are you talking about? I am a startup, right? Anyway, right. So I started checking things off. So we were left with just very few things. From 27, we got it down to about 6. That's huge. We weren't done then. But here's how I learned how to say no gracefully, with confidence that nobody ever challenges me on it. We came up with my strategic triangle. Now, a triangle has only 3 sides, which means, again, allowed, air quotes, you're only allowed to do 3 things. And those 3 things have to be the things you love. They bring value to others and to yourself. So my 3 things were speaking, coaching, and training. If it didn't fit into one of those corners, I could not do it. So everything I do, my radio show is all part of speaking, coaching, training. My writing books, speaking, coaching, training. And if I'm doing one, I also have to talk about the others. So if I'm speaking, I talk about coaching and training. If I'm training, speaking, coach, But I also had to have something in the middle that grounded everything. And for me, it was family. So everything I do revolves around my family. I'll talk about my family. I did get married 6 years ago, so I talk about my husband. And it's not like I'm saying, okay, Michele, now it's time to talk about my family. It's just that it comes out, right? It just comes out. Okay, so now I've got my triangle with my family in the middle. So let's pretend that Kat said to me, hey, Judy, let's go into business together and let's create a business that has like really cool leather jackets. Now, I'm a leather jacket person, and I'm thinking, Kat, let me think about that for a moment. If I decide I want to go into business with Kat for leather jackets, my speaking, coaching, and training, one of them has to be gone. Okay? Now, I'm not ready to do that. So I get to say to Kat, you know what? My triangle has speaking, coaching, training on it, and that's not part of it right now. So I'm going to put that on hold. Can we revisit it at another time? I just said no to her gracefully. I usually have my triangle and I just hold it up and go, you're not part of it.
This is my triangle. You're not in it.
You're not in it. That's right. Sorry. But that was how
you're fabulous, but you're not in my triangle.
Yeah, but that's how I learned to say no with confidence, because it wasn't doing me or anyone else any favors if I spread myself so thin or diluted the brand or didn't bring you the value needed. So that was one of the most eye-opening things I'd ever discovered. And I said it 4 years ago on my radio show, and my producer listened to me. And at the end of the show, he said, oh my God, I hate you so much. And I said, you hate me? Remember, I'm the person that likes to be liked. And he said, yeah, I'm doing my triangle now. And I know I have to eliminate all of these things. 4 years later, he's still doing the triangle though.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Right?
I love that. That is so great. And it's so simple.
Right.
So everybody listening, make your triangle. What are the 3 most important things that you need to be focusing all your time, your talents, your brilliance on, right? And I would say in the center of that is what I would call your core values, right? What are those things that are like water and air to you that you cannot live without, that have to be essential to you? And so family is one of your core values. For me, creativity is one of those values, right? If I don't have time to paint or to write or to speak, those are all creative endeavors for me, right? So getting really, really clear on those core values is another great way for you to discern what are your 3 elements of your strategic triangle, but also a way to see like, wow, how really important is this to me and to my well-being? Because as we look back from our deathbed, we're not going to go, oh, I should have worked more. I should have done this or that more, right? But the other thing that brings to mind is a conversation I was having with a coaching client not too long ago. And she has been, in her former life, she was an ER doctor, right? Amazing woman, 20 years as a medical doctor, and has shifted her life to becoming a coach, right? And she's done over 90 free sessions with people, but yet asking for money, charging what she's worth has been really, really difficult for her. And so what this makes me, the strategic triangle, what it makes me think of was this aha moment that she had was, oh, just like in the hospital, you had the billing department take care of the insurance and the money and all of that. She's like, oh, I can have someone do that for me, right? And that's outside of her strategic triangle. It still gets done, it's delegated, but it's not something that can hold her back from actually doing the work that she loves to do and charging the money that she deserves to charge for her expertise, right?
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that, because again, that's another thing that's very female centric, that we don't like to talk about money because of the things maybe when we were growing up, money doesn't grow on trees, money is the root of all evil, and those tapes come up. But I had a different business coach. I don't know how many business coaches I've had through the years, and sometimes I have 2 or 3 at the same time because they're all different pieces.
Exactly.
This one business coach said to me, okay, your rates are way too low. Now, I'm going to tell you something that I just remembered last night. My very first coaching client, my very first one, I had no idea what to charge. Now this is 10 years ago. And I kind of knew her and so on. So we did a 6-month program. You want to take a guess what I charged her? For 6 months. For twice a month.
$600.
Oh, yeah, a little bit better. $750.
Okay.
For 6 months. Okay, so when I was telling my coach this, now this was a year later, and of course I did raise my rate. She said, yeah, but what did she call me? She said, you look like Neiman Marcus, but you charge like Walmart.
Ooh.
And I said,
nice analogy.
Yeah, I said, okay, so what does that mean? She goes, you need to raise your rates.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
she says to me, here's how you raise your rates. So anybody that's listening, here's how she tells you to do it. She said, look in the mirror. In the mirror, she said, pick a crazy number. Just pick a number and say, it's $20,000 and here's what's included. And she said, when you could say that without stuttering or coughing or choking or sweating or anything else, then you're okay to raise your rates. If you say it's and you can't do it, right, you can't do it. So she said, you have to practice. She said, you look in the mirror every day, like 3 or 4 times a day until you're comfortable with a number. And she said, but pick a crazy number, because if you're crazy, if you could say that coaching is $20,000 a month, then you could say it's $2,000 or $1,000 or whatever, but not $750 for 6 months, not $750 a month. I charged $750 for the 6 months total, and that was crazy. It's because your time is worth something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, and this gets to a much deeper conversation, and one that I love working with clients with, because our money conversations typically are deeply embedded in our subconscious mind. And they're often ideas and values that were handed to us by our parents, by our family of origin, by our upbringing. Yep. Money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work really hard. You have to struggle to earn your money, whatever that conversation is. And it precludes us from actually busting through the money ceiling, right? Busting through the glass ceiling of what we think we are allowed to have, what our value is, what our worth is. And so in the rapid transformational therapy work that I do, I'm able to get at those subconscious conversations with people and pull them out like a bad weed and flip them and change them, because your mind doesn't know the difference between what is real and perceived.
Right.
So in a state of hypnosis, we can rewire those beliefs and then create new neural pathways with a process that I do with my clients. But yeah, money conversations are a huge aspect of what I work with people on, because we all have them in different ways, shapes, and forms. And the fascinating thing is, folks who have made a whole lot of money, but then self-sabotage and are back down at low levels again, it's the same thing. It's still some unconscious belief that they're carrying around that's conflicting with their conscious belief. See, your mind can't hold two conflicting beliefs at the same time. So if your conscious mind says, oh yes, I can charge $20,000 for a 6-month program, but your subconscious is going, girl, what are you talking about? Right. And it'll create this ping-ponging effect in your brain. And so we have to eliminate that. So yeah, standing in the mirror and going, yes, I'm charging $20,000 for a 6-month program or a year-long program or whatever that happens to be, then the more you can get comfortable with that, the more you can start to rewire your thinking around that. It's really, really interesting to notice what can shift when you do that, especially if you've got an underlying belief, and you've probably seen this a lot of, oh, I'm not enough, or I'm not worthy, or who am I? I'm a fraud. I can't possibly charge that much. Imposter syndrome is terribly popular conversation that happens for people.
But you go back to what you were saying before about your client who did 90 free sessions. 90 free sessions. We've all done the strategy session, or let's do the one-on-one for 15 minutes or whatever it is. We all do that because it's much easier to give than to take.
Yes.
And so, and just think about when you give a compliment. I mean, I always give compliments. Every day I meet somebody that I don't know, I'll walk up to them and say something nice. You never know that it might be the only nice thing they hear all day. But if someone says something to you, I always tell my clients, or when I'm speaking, I just say, if somebody says something nice to you, just say thank you and zip it. Because what we do is we go, oh, this old thing, oh, I bought it at Marshall's. And, they were paying me to take it because it was on sale. It was marked down to only $10. And you go through this whole thing. Nobody cares.
Right, exactly.
They don't care. Just say thank you. Thank you. But that's one of right, because that's one of the things that we don't know how to. It's another way of not saying no. We just continue to chat and go and whatever. People are going, gosh, I only said this. I don't really want to have a relationship with you.
Exactly. And that's another challenge that I see often with women, right? We give until we're completely burnt out, right? But as with money, as with so many things, it's energy, right? And it's a give and a receive, right? You have to give in order to receive, and you have to receive in order to give, right? You can't take a breath and not exhale. You have to
do something.
Right? There's an inhale and an exhale. And so thinking about giving and receiving is just like the breath. You give and you take. You give and you receive. And it's the same for money. It's the same for saying yes and saying no, giving of your time, your talents, and your energy. And so it's finding the balance, right, that works for you based on all the other factors that are going on in your life. We have women from around the world who are part of this group, Judy, and literally from every corner of the planet. It's super exciting. And life circumstances look very differently, right? Whether you're a working woman or a stay-at-home mom or, some variation in between, finding that sense of balance for yourself is what's key, and learning how to take in those core values. What is in your strategic triangle to help you live your life most effectively? So in the work that you've done and the research that you've done for your books and whatnot, what are some of the other prevalent stories or blockers that come up for women that keep them playing small and overdoing as a way to stay small?
A wise woman once told me that you have to go back to when you're like 5 or 6, somewhere down there, and you have something happened that causes those limiting beliefs. Something is there that also drives you to do what you do today. And I remember when I was, 5 or 6, I remember my father always telling me, girls don't do this, girls don't do that, girls don't do this. So what do? I do girls do this, girls do that, but it was kind of a theme through my life. My father told me when I graduated high school, and you could watch my TED Talk and you'll hear the whole story. But basically what happened was he told me that I needed to enter into beauty contests and I better win because all I am is pretty and I won't amount to anything else. Right? Wow. So when I told it at the TED Talk, it was the very first time I had said it out loud. And I remember hearing the air was sucked out of the room.
Yep.
And then I come back and I do tell them, what the outcome has been. But the truth of the matter is the reason we have the limiting beliefs, the reason we don't say no, the reason why we don't take a chance, the reason why we don't go after something is because of something that was said to us at some point that we held on to. And I hear sometimes the way moms talk to their children today, oh, you're chubby, or, oh, you're so skinny, or you're never this. And I'm thinking to myself, do you not realize that they're going to remember this?
Yeah.
Because when it happened to me, that was in 1972. Okay. We're not talking about yesterday. We're talking about something that you hold on to.
Yeah.
You also have to remember that people have stories about you. They believe things about you, even when they're not true.
Absolutely.
They look at you and I did not make cheerleading in high school. I was devastated. I didn't make cheerleading. And I don't even remember the exact reason. I know there was a whole thing, but all my friends thought I was a cheerleader. Everybody thought I was a cheerleader. To this day, they think I was a cheerleader. And the reason they did was because all my friends were, or the football team, and I was dating a football player and so on and so forth. But I remember clearly when my last book came out, Walking on the Glass Floor, I had asked a friend of mine who is very well known and he's very well connected. And I said, would you help me promote my book? And here's what he said to me: anything from my favorite cheerleader. And I said to him, you do know I was never a cheerleader, right? And he said, I know you don't like to tell anybody that you were the captain, but I know you were the captain. And he was deadly serious. Now, this is going back, how many years? 40 something years. And so what I'm saying is that these limiting beliefs that you have, other people also put stuff on you. And so you have to really, really understand who you are and rewind the tapes. So when I ask people questions or I try to figure out what's stopping people, we do it ourselves. We stop ourselves. In fact, I posted that today to get out of your own way. You have to start taking a chance. I'm not saying that you have to quit a job today and go off and do something else and you have no funds whatsoever. I'm saying you have to believe in who you are. You have to decide what it is that you love more than anything. And even if you do that as either a side hustle or you do that just because you love to do it, do something that makes you happy. Sometimes
Absolutely.
We have a job because we have to make money. We have to pay. We have to take care of our families. That's awesome. And you need to do that. But you also could do something for yourself. And even if it means painting, I'm going to paint on the side, or it just makes me happy. Something like that. Don't forget about who you are. Say no to the things that someone else can do.
Well, it's about saying no to the things that drain your energy.
Yep.
Right? It comes back to that body awareness that we were talking about earlier. You can imagine any particular relationship that you have in your life. It might be with a spouse. It might be with a family member. It might be with a colleague. And when you think about that person, does their energy, does it lift you up and make you smile? Or does it make you go, oh, right? And so you have to be really conscious about who are those energy vampires in your lives, right? Because they're sucking your life force out of you, and then you're left depleted, and then you're scrambling trying to handle all these other things. So that's another way ladies, to look at how can you say no is like when you think about doing this thing, how does your body respond? How does your energy react? Does it go up and expand, or does it shrink and contract, right? That's a real clear indication as to whether you're moving in a good direction or not in a good direction for yourself. And taking time to evaluate what those pieces are for you makes a huge, huge difference.
Yeah, because you meet people and sometimes, I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but you meet somebody and you take a step backwards because their energy is just, you don't even want to be around them. And if that's, and I always tell people, even if you're working because you have to work, if you go into a place that's compromising your core values, or that you just can't, like you walk in and you just get these creepy feelings, walk out and find something else to do. I know when I did corporate very briefly, I did corporate for 2 years of my entire career. I loved what I was doing, but the culture was so toxic that I didn't belong there. That was so against everything that I stood for. And so I jumped and I resigned. And when you resign from corporate, you lose everything. I mean, there's no severance, there's nothing. And I was not married at the time. And I was living in a place that I knew no one. So it wasn't like I could, go to my mom, there was nothing, there was nobody here. And I just remember that if you are compromising yourself for this, you're going to be compromising yourself for everything. And so, people said to me, "You're nuts. I can't believe you jumped. It's such a big job. You made a lot of money." I'm like, yeah, but it was not good. It's not good.
Well, and when you do that, what you're telling the universe, your spirit, your higher self, is that, oh, I'm willing to compromise my values, right? And when you're compromising your values, you're creating dis-ease in your body. And that dis-ease can over time create disease, right? And so you have to be very, very mindful of that. And as you learn to say yes or no to the things that lift you up or pull you down, then that law of attraction, like attract likes. I mean, it's physics. That's all it is. It's like energy. When your energy expands, you start attracting more of that higher vibrational energy, or conversely, that lower negative energy. And so when you say no to the things that are really taking you down into that small, contracted, energetic place, then you're able to increase your energy, and then more of those opportunities will come to you. They'll be presented to you, and you just have to take the blinders off and enable yourself to look around fully.
That's right.
See that they're available to you, because it's easy to get caught in these belief systems, right, that we get. And, in my work as a hypnotherapist and a coach, I see this all the time. These beliefs that are handed to us by our family members, right? I was just working with someone earlier this week whose parents and grandparents lived through the wars and the Depression. And so they had all of this at a cellular level, this scarcity, this poverty mindset deeply embedded in their body. And so I always tell my clients, like, take all those beliefs. They're not yours. Put them in a suitcase, leave them on the side of the road, right? Just walk away from it. Just let it go. Just eliminate it, erase it, eradicate it from your whole mindset. So then you're able to actually see the world more clearly without those blinders that weren't even yours to begin with, right? You're like, somebody said, put these on, you'll be safe. Like, no, that's not my stuff. I don't want it.
Well, there was a story on social media a couple of years ago, and it was about this husband and wife and kids. And every time he would come home from work, he was so unhappy, and he became not abusive physically, but just nasty. And his family was falling apart, and he didn't know what to do. He had to work and all of this. So what he came up with was, every day before he walked into his house, he would put his hand on the tree outside his house, and he would say, "I am leaving all the craziness and all the toxicity and everything on you, the tree, and I'll pick it up when I come back tomorrow." So he did that. And every time he'd walk in the house, he'd be like cool daddy, and he'd be loving daddy and a wonderful husband and everything else. Of course, in the morning, you forget to pick it up. But he did this every day. And he realized that you do have the ability to say no to those things as well. I don't need to bring this into my house. I don't need to have, right? And so the tree held it all. And so I just thought it was like a really good symbolism for so many things, but I thought it was a really good way to train your mind to stop saying, yes, I have to be like this and bring it home, and, or I have to do this because I, whatever. So I just thought, wow, that was like so easy. He didn't have to go to a therapist. He put his hand on the tree. He just gave it up. And I just thought it was really cool, actually.
No, I love that. I'm a huge fan of trees. Big
Yeah.
fan, big fan of trees. And they're so powerful and wise, and they're great for grounding, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're the definition of grounded, right? And so letting that energy go, right? Leaving it at the door, literally and figuratively, allows you to step into that next phase of your day with greater clarity, with
Mm-hmm.
greater joy, right? Noticing when we start spinning in that mindset of, oh, this has happened and that happened, I had such a bad day, and rah, 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 and then it just spins and it festers, and then it can explode in all the wrong ways on the people who don't deserve to be exploded upon.
Right.
And so it's important for us to realize that, oh, if I can let go of that energy, leave it at the door, leave it at the suitcase, right? Then I can be present with the people that I care most about.
Right.
And allow my body to relax and to drop down out of fight or flight mode, right? With cortisol coursing through your body and your adrenals, like, oh, we get caught up in the pressures, the chaos, the craziness of our daily lives and careers. And that can keep us spinning and keep our mind spinning and keep us awake at night. But by leaving it with the tree, you can and just quiet yourself, and then really allow yourself to open up to greater connection and greater heart space, and really being with people in a way that maybe you haven't allowed yourself to be with them in the past, which is a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah. The other thing a lot of people say, and maybe you do this as well, is affirmations that keep you grounded, but also keeps you not in that scarcity mode and not having to say yes to things that you don't want to and whatever. And one of my friends, he does a whole course on this, but he always says before he goes to sleep every single night, he says, I'm whole, I'm healthy, I'm abundantly wealthy. Now, he doesn't say anything about I have millions of dollars or anything. He says, I'm whole, I'm healthy, I'm abundantly wealthy. So abundantly is, obviously the opposite of scarcity. And wealthy, it could be so many different things. But he says it every single night, and when he wakes up in the morning, he says the same thing. And so he sets his day in the morning. He sets the tone, and before he goes to sleep, he allows his self to just say, okay, I don't need to do this, and I don't need to have, I don't need to be saying yes to every single thing. I need to just keep myself here. And so, and I say it now. I do. I say it. It's just. And sometimes, like it was a rough day, or I'm like, I'm whole, I'm healthy, I'm abundantly wealthy.
Yeah, matey.
Right. And that's not exactly how you're supposed to do it, but, and then after you say it like one or two times, and you go, okay, I got it, So it's
absolutely. Right? Well, what I love so much about that, and with affirmations, it's a way of talking to yourself. It's a way of talking to your brain. And one of the principles of the mind is your mind does exactly what it thinks you want it to do. And so the more you tell yourself something, the more true it can become for you, right? Mm-hmm. If you've got a story that you're carrying around that I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, who am I? I'm a imposter. That's, wealth isn't available to me.
Right.
Then as you start to tell yourself, I am enough, I am worthy of receiving all the health, the happiness, and the abundant wealth that I can possibly imagine. The more you say that, the more you repeat that to yourself, your brain goes, oh, okay, really? Got it. And the more you repeat it, you're actually building new neural pathways in your brain, right? The tricky part with affirmations is where those conflicting beliefs come in, right? So if you've got a subconscious belief that says, oh no, you're not deserving of that, you're not worthy of that, but you're telling yourself, I am worthy, I am that, then you've got to notice the conflict that might be going on and eliminate the old belief that no longer serves you by repeating the new belief that you absolutely want, right? So noticing any conflict that might be going on in your body as you're saying that, and asking that old belief to leave, right? We're just letting it go. It's dissipating. It's dissolving away, right?
So go and look on YouTube, look up Jessica's affirmations. And Jessica is maybe 3, 4, maybe. I don't even know if she's that old. And she's got crazy blonde, curly hair. And she's standing on the top of her sink in the bathroom. And she says, I love my family. I love my hair. I love my, and I always, I send it to every one of my clients, or I use it when I'm, speaking. And I said, you know what, if this little one can say that, then why aren't we able to say that? Why aren't we able to believe that you don't have to love every single thing, but you have to be, this is what you love. When you love this, then you love everything. I mean, and don't think I'm like Pollyanna, that I think that everything is, amazing all the time, because it's not. I mean, I look in the mirror and I'm going, like, I used to be cute. Like, what happened?
The wisdom, right, the aging of wisdom.
Right. But the truth of the matter is that, you have to teach your little ones how to respond to things, and you have to tell them that this is who you are. So you have to love who you are. And if you want to change things, you change it, but you have to start somewhere. But every time people watch it, they're like, oh my God, I love Jessica.
I've seen that, and it is absolutely adorable.
Yeah.
And I love that you raised this point, Judy, because it is so fundamental, right? To saying no, to saying yes to yourself, is by saying yes to loving yourself, accepting yourself wholly and completely, just the way you are and just the way you aren't. We're all perfectly imperfect. There is no such thing as perfection. It is an illusion. I hate to tell you, everyone.
It is totally.
Illusion, right? So the more you can tell yourself, I love myself, I appreciate myself, I accept myself just as I am, all my imperfections, all the wrinkles and then this and then that, as we age and we get wiser and wiser, right? And that alone will have a huge impact, because the more you love yourself, the more you accept yourself. Again, it's back to physics. I geek out on this energy stuff, right? The neuroscience of it all. Your energy rises and expands, and people feel that, and they're like, Judy, you look great today. Did you do something with your hair? Like something different. And they can't put their finger on it, but it makes a very, very big difference. And it creates this positive ripple effect, right? That you're not even aware of when you're able to do that. But yeah, loving yourself wholeheartedly is such an important thing, especially if you've had a difficult upbringing, from one end to the other of extremes. I've heard it all, trust me, of things that parents will say or do to their children, and then it creates indelible marks in their subconscious, because as children, we're just sponges. We just take in information. There's no processing and there's no discerning it. It's just like, we just take it all in. Oh, my parents said I wasn't good enough, or I was fat, or I was ugly, or I wasn't worthy, or whatever that story was. Oftentimes it's just the story of the parent that they can't hold on to. So they're giving it away. They're trying to get it off of them so they'll feel better about themselves, right? And we take on that information as the small children, and then we walk through the world believing this about ourselves. But it's just not true, because we are all perfectly imperfect. We're all enough. We're all worthy. We all have value that we bring to the world. And it's our job in this lifetime, right, to figure out, what are my gifts? What are my talents? And how do I bring those? How do I share those with the world in a way that lights me up and it lights other people up? And, I get paid well to do it as well. That's always a bonus.
Yeah. And, the truth of the matter is that when we decide that we're ready to do whatever it is that we're doing, whether we're speaking, coaching, training, whatever you're doing, you also have to remember that you do have the ability to influence people and to transform people, but you have to be good with you. And if you keep saying yes to every single thing, then you're doing your true peeps, the true people that really need you, you're doing them a disservice, because you don't have time for them. You don't have time for them. You're busy here and you're busy there. They always say that like little children will never remember that you had fat thighs or your skin, jiggled or whatever. They'll remember that you didn't want to go to the beach because you didn't want to wear a bathing suit. That's
Right.
what they'll remember. So if you decide, well, I'm not going to speak here because I'm not good enough, or, I don't really know
Who
how
am
to,
I, or what do
right,
I
right,
know?
I'm the imposter. I'm not going to do that. But your message is so strong that you really need to tell people that you're doing the same thing. People won't remember that. They're going to remember, well, she didn't show up, or she didn't do this, or whatever. So, say no to the things that really you should say no to. It's almost like when you tell people you need to get yourself an executive assistant. Give them everything that they can do. You only keep the things that only you can do, because those are the things that bring value. Say no to everything else. So it's those kind of things. I always get people to start thinking about, like, my thing, 27 things. How can you do that? Start to do the things that make a difference, that bring value, and say no to the other things. Even if it hurts the first few times,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, and the other cool thing about this is there's science behind that shows us the more things we try to do, the more multitasking we try to do, the less effective we are, right? So if you're doing one task, then you can give 100% of your attention to that one task. But if you have two tasks, then you can only give each task, then you only have like 60% attention to give to it, because the percentages of the switching time significantly
Right.
diminishes your ability to focus. And you add 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 tasks, and now you're down to like, I only have 5% to give to any one of these tasks, because I'm spending so much time switching between lanes, because your brain can only focus on one thing at a time. It can do switch back and forth in microseconds, yes, but every time you switch to a different channel, you lose time in getting back to the place you were on the first channel to begin with.
Right.
Right. So as we learn how to eliminate things from our list, right, we're actually enabling ourselves to be more focused, to be more present, to be more effective and productive, right? We tell ourselves, oh, if I multitask, I'll get more done. Well, actually, no, you're not as effective. You're not as productive. So taking time to focus for an hour, even if it's just an hour at a time on one particular thing,
Right.
you
You'll
increase
finish
your
it.
productivity,
Right.
right? And then you don't have to work as many hours. It's very easy to get caught into, oh, I have to work 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 hours a week to get it all done. But there's a way to work smarter, not harder, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
being able to identify the extraneous on your list, eliminate that, say no to those things, so then you can focus on the main pillars of what you really, really need to be doing. And
Right.
then you'll actually have more time for yourself, time to decompress, to relax. And when you're able to do that, to go away and completely turn off the work channel, right? Your brain rejuvenates and your clarity increases and your creativity increases. So you're able to come back and be more productive. I think in, I forget which country it is. I just saw an article about this the other day. I want to say Norway. They've moved to 4-day work weeks, but they're getting paid for 5, because people's productivity and happiness goes up. And so when you're intrinsically motivated from the inside because you're happier, you're more peaceful, you're more calm, your productivity goes up, and then that positively impacts the bottom line. So they're like, hey, sure, that works. Let's do more of that, right?
I mean, it's great because people are doing things that are different, and they're trying things that are different. And I think that's the key. You can't do the same old thing all the time. It
And
doesn't
expect
work.
different results.
That's
That's the
right.
definition of
That's
crazy.
Yeah, that it totally is. And that's what I'm saying. There's so many things that people are trying, people are doing. There are jobs that haven't even been decided what they're going to be. They haven't been invented yet, but yet they're going to help us in the next 5 years. As we're all here sitting and listening and talking, there's apps that are being developed that's going to be helping things. So you just have to be open and aware, and at least look into something that's going to help you be able to be the best version of you. If it's going to help you, like, to say, okay, I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. However you're going to say it, or can say it, or need to say it, practice. Look in the mirror again. Okay, I'm not going to say yes to this. I'm not going to say yes to this.
I'm going to listen to my body. I'm going to trust my intuition, and I'm going to know that, oh, no, that's really not the right thing for me to do.
Right. Now or ever.
Exactly. There's a line here. Yeah, I tell my clients to create your do want list and your don't want list. What's the things that you absolutely do want to have in your life? And what are the things that you absolutely don't want to have in your life, right? I will not tolerate X, Y, Z.
Yep.
And you can use that as a guidepost, if you will, when these other decisions come at you, like, no, that doesn't fit in my do want, or, it's actually my don't want. Okay. So it helps that. And I love the strategic triangle. That's a brilliant, brilliant concept.
Yeah.
I've got that written down.
I'm telling you, the hardest thing is to decide what the 3 is. And most people that start in business, one of the 3 is always going to be lead generation. Always. And that should be what it is. I still do lead generation, but for me, it's speaking, training, coach. That's where I find my leads.
Right.
But I'm telling you, it's, I come from the world of insurance. The first thing you have to do is lead generation. And every time I talk to financial services, they said, can I do that? Can I put that in? There's no right or wrong. You can do whatever you want on it, but just do it.
Exactly. Well, gosh, this has been such a juicy, juicy conversation. Thank you, Judy, so much.
Thank you.
I would love for you to share with everyone who's listening how they can find out more about you and your work, and how they can reach out to you if they're so interested.
So I have 2 different websites, and then I have one that actually combines them, but we'll worry about that. So my websites are sellinginasskirt.com and walkingontheglassfloor.com. And one is that really heavily into sales, and one is heavily into leadership. However, you can't have one without the other.
Exactly.
So that's why that's there. You can reach me. I answer my own email. So it's Judy at Selling in a Skirt or Judy at Walking on the Glass Floor, either or. All over social media, Judy Hoberman, Selling in a Skirt. You can find me anywhere. And I do a radio show on Mondays. So if you follow me or you like me or whatever, you'll be able to see everything that comes up, or everything that shows up, every place I'm going, everything I'm doing.
Fabulous. And Judy's been very gracious. She has a free gift for us as well, a copy of her book, Selling in a Skirt. So you can go to sellinginasskirt.com/special-offer and get a copy of that for yourself and check it out. Thank you so much. That's really gracious of you.
This is actually the mini guide version.
The mini guide. Okay.
And it's got some awesome things in there. So yeah.
Fabulous. Yeah. And also, just to give you everyone who's listening a booster, I have an ebook, Saying No with Grace and Grit.
Yay!
That is available, and it also has a guided transformation recording that goes along with it that you can listen to and relax and help you just kind of unwind over the holidays. So I'll be posting that, but you can find it on my website under the Brain Candy section. Under books. So be sure to go there and check that out, and go to sellinginasskirt.com and check out that for Judy and all her amazing work. And so before we say goodbye to everyone for the holidays, any last parting words, Judy, of wisdom that you want to share with everyone?
I would say find something to be grateful for every day, not just in November. Be grateful, show gratitude, and be generous with your time. Because most people say, well, I don't have money to give this charity or whatever. It's not only about money. Generosity comes from you. The most expensive thing you can give away is your time, because you can't get it back. So be generous with your time, but also be realistic with your time. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Judy. Thank you, Kat, for joining in, and all of our listeners as well. And just to let everybody know, our next Wonder Woman Unite for January will be on January 18th, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, 12:30 Eastern, 5:30 British Standard Time. And we'll be kicking off the year with some fabulous thoughts and ideas, and help you to create a wonderful, wonderful year for yourself. So thank you, everyone. Have a blessed holiday. Thank you for being here, and we look forward to seeing you in the new year. Bye.
Bye.